Hello guys and welcome to another milkshake chess video. And in this video I'm going to be talking about a specific endgame known as the king and pawn endgame. And now these types of endgames are where there are only two kings on the board, of course, but then there are no other major pieces such as knights, bishops, rooks or queens other than pawns. So on the board there are only kings and pawns. And now though those position may have only at least 3 pieces on top of the board, these positions can get surprisingly complex, and without proper knowledge, prior knowledge or prior theory of these positions, a player who is in otherwise completely winning situation can make a mistake that will either lose the game or draw the game. And because there are so many variants of the king and pawn endgame, this is probably going to be only part 1 of these series of king and pawn endgames. So to get started, let's look at this position over here. So you can see that the white king here is in the corner of h1, right? And then the goal of these endgames is trying to get this pawn over here to promote. So in this case, the pawn will promote on f8. And the black king in this situation is trying to stop that, right? So, and right now it is white to move. So one of the goals to winning a king and a pawn endgame is to get your king in front of your pawn, so your king can support your pawn to move forward and guard against the enemy king, which might try to get close to your pawn, right? So the black king, if he was anywhere in front of his pawn, the pawn will be probably lost. But and the white king will preferably, for example, be here and guard these squares, preventing the black king from going straight to the pawn. But you see, in this specific example, the white king is all the way here in the corner, so it cannot do much to help the white pawn to promote. And it seems here that the black king has a clear run to the white pawn. And that is partially true. Because let's say if it's white to move, right? Which is currently it is white to move. Then white would move pawn to f6, trying to promote the pawn. And then black king would naturally try to get close to the pawn. White will push the pawn again. The black king will continue to get closer. However, black is one move too late. And white has promoted to a queen. And now, if white does not make further mistakes, then white will win this position with ease. However, if we set this position to black to play, then the situation will be very different. So let's flip the board again. Right. So you can see that if it was black to move, black would still try to get closest to the pawn. White would try to push the pawn. Black would get closer. White pushes. And now you see the black king gets really close to the pawn, to the point where that is literally right next to it. So now there's no hope of white winning the game anymore, because if white promotes to any piece, let's pick the queen, and then You see, it's check, but it doesn't even have to be a check. Like the piece could be literally a rook or a knight, and black will still take it because that will make it a draw. And so all chances of white's win is lost. So this leads me on to the topic of this video, which is the rule of the square. So as you can see, the white pawn is on f5, right? And then as you can see, the white pawn has to move 3 more squares until it reaches the promotion rank, which is the 8th rank. 1, 2, and 3. And to initiate the rule of the square, we also count the number of steps to reach the other side of the board horizontally. In this case, we would count it towards the side that the black king is on, because it would be pretty useless to count it this way. So we count 3 squares to the left, and as you can see, this fills up a nice box, which happens to be 4 squares by 4 squares. And as you can clearly see, the black king is outside this box, which means that there is no hope of the black king stopping this pawn from promoting by itself. However, as I already said, if the black king was here, let's fill this square in again, the black king would be inside the square. So this would mean that the black king could catch up to the pawn. So now I'm going to show you another example. So you see this pawn is on the 2nd rank, which is where the pawn originally starts. So it has 6 moves to reach the other side of the board. We're just going to move the white king somewhere random. Okay. As you can see, we count a square that is, actually no, we count a square which is 6 by 6, right? So this square is a 7 by 7 square. So now as you can see by these circles right here, the black king is inside the circle, which theoretically should mean that it will win this pawn, right? And now, if we just ignore this white king in this position, that seems true. So if we move the pawn, the black king gets closer, and then we keep moving this. You can see again, just before the pawn promotes, the black king reaches the pawn, and will take it on the next move. However, we also have to take into account that the pawn has a special move of going 2 squares on its first move. So if this happens, as you can see now, the pawn is now 4 squares away from promoting. So now this makes a 5 by 5 square. And now you can see the black king's unfortunately out of the square. So the black king tries to get closer. However, this effort is in vain because 1 move away from reaching the pawn promotes. And the white has won the game. Okay, so this brings me to the end of part 1 of king versus king and pawn endgames. I will be releasing part 2 soon. Have a good day.